Hey everyone, and welcome back to Chat Like a Native. It's time for another deep dive, and today we're tackling something that's super important for sounding fluent, but it often gets overlooked, and that is conditionals.
Yes.
You know, those if this then that kind of statements.
Right.
They're like little fluency shortcuts that can make your English sound so much more natural and expressive.
Absolutely. I mean, so many learners, they focus on, like memorizing tons of vocabulary.
Right.
But honestly, conditionals, they give you this amazing power to connect ideas,
Yeah?
to like explore possibilities in a way that just sounds so much smoother and more sophisticated.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like they add this extra layer of depth to your communication.
Right.
So before we get too deep into the nitty-gritty, can we just like take a step back and make sure we're all on the same page?
Yeah.
What exactly are conditionals in the first place? Like, I think we have a general idea,
Sure.
but, it's always good to start with a solid foundation.
Okay, well, at their most basic level, conditionals are all about exploring those if-then relationships between ideas.
Okay.
If this happens, then that will happen. It's
Right.
like cause and effect. But what makes them so cool is that they let us play around with all sorts of possibilities.
Oh, I like that, playing around with possibility.
Yeah.
So, like, if we're talking about something that's always true, like a universal truth or a fact,
Yeah.
that's where the zero conditional comes in,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, if you heat water to 100 degrees Celsius, it boils.
Yeah,
That's always going to happen no matter what.
absolutely. So zero conditionals, they express those kind of universal truths
Okay.
or scientific facts. And the key is that they use the present simple tense in both parts of the sentence.
Okay, so both in the if part and the then part.
Right. Both the condition and the result are in the present simple.
Gotcha. So it's not about something that might happen. It's about a guaranteed outcome
Exactly.
based on a specific condition. Okay, that makes sense. But are zero conditionals always about science or facts?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, they can be used in other ways, too.
Okay.
For example, they can also express habits or routines.
Oh, interesting.
Things that are consistently true in your own life.
Okay.
Like, if I eat too much sugar, I get a headache.
Oh, yeah, I feel that.
Right. It's
Yeah.
not a universal law, but it's a personal truth for you.
Right.
A pattern that happens under a certain condition.
Okay.
And again, you'll notice that both parts of the sentence are still in the present simple tense.
So it's really about that consistency.
Exactly.
That predictable outcome.
Yep.
Okay, I like it. So you listening out there, think about your own life for a minute. What's a zero conditional sentence that applies to you? It could be about your work, your hobbies, your daily routine,
Yeah.
anything that always happens under a certain condition. It's a cool way to start recognizing these patterns in everyday language.
Right. And once you start to recognize them, you'll naturally start using them more yourself without even thinking about it.
Exactly. It's all about building that awareness.
Yes.
All right, so we've got those zero conditionals down. The ones that are like always true.
So those guaranteed outcomes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what about when we want to talk about things that are likely to happen in the future?
Well, that's where we step up to the first conditional.
Okay.
First conditionals are all about those real-world possibilities.
Yeah.
The things we think are, probably going to happen if a certain condition is met.
So it's like setting up a roadmap.
Kinda?
Yeah, if we do this.
Then we can expect that.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And it still feels pretty natural. Right?
Absolutely.
Like it's not overly formal or anything.
It's very common in everyday conversations.
Okay.
Think about like how often you hear people say things like, if it rains, we'll stay inside.
Right.
Or if I finish this project early, I'll treat myself to dinner.
Yeah, those are all first conditional.
See?
It's all about those potential outcomes that feel, within reach.
Right, like things we can realistically plan for.
Yeah, okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And I think this is where things start to click for a lot of English learners.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because they start to see how these simple if-then structures can really, take their communication up a notch.
Yeah, for sure. It's about moving beyond those really basic sentences.
Right.
And starting to build more complex connections between ideas.
Yeah.
And the great thing is that conditionals make those connections feel natural and intuitive.
Right.
Like the way native speakers actually talk.
Okay, so we've covered zero conditionals. Those are about things that are always true. And first conditionals.
Which are about things that are likely to happen.
Right. But what about those times when we want to talk about things that are like hypothetical or unlikely?
Oh, I see what you're getting at.
Like what-if scenarios.
That's where the second conditional comes in handy. It lets us explore those possibilities that are, maybe a little more imaginative.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so instead of saying, if I study hard, I will pass the test,
Mm-hmm.
which is very first conditional, very realistic.
Right.
We could say something like, if I won the lottery, I would travel the world.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's definitely more of a dream than a plan,
Exactly.
at least for me.
And notice how the structure changes a bit.
Okay.
Instead of using the present simple and the if clause, we use the past simple.
So it's if I won, not if I win.
Exactly.
Right.
Even though we're talking about a hypothetical situation in the present or future, we use that past tense to signal that it's not something we actually expect to happen.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's a subtle but important difference.
Yeah, and then we use would plus the base verb in the second part of the sentence.
Right, the result clause.
So if I won the lottery, I would travel the world.
Exactly.
It's like we're stepping into an alternate reality for a moment.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, it's a fun way to think about it.
Second conditionals, that they give us that freedom to play with those what-if scenarios.
To explore those possibilities. That might not be realistic, but, they're still fun to think about.
Exactly. It's all about using our imagination.
Okay, so it's not just about unlikely events. It's about any situation where we want to express a hypothetical outcome.
Right.
Like, if I were taller, I could reach that shelf.
Yeah.
Or if I spoke fluent Italian, I could move to Rome.
Exactly.
Oh, and that reminds me of something.
What's that?
There's like a little quirk with second conditionals.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to the verb to be.
Right.
In more formal English, when we use I, in a hypothetical situation, it's considered grammatically correct to use were instead of was.
Yeah, it's one of those little details that can make your English sound a bit more polished.
Right. So it's if I were, not if I was.
Exactly.
It's subtle, but native speakers will definitely pick up on it.
It's like a little grammar secret handshake.
I like that.
No?
Okay, so we've covered those hypothetical present or future situations.
Yeah.
But what about when we want to look back at the past?
Okay.
Like express regret or imagine how things could have been different. Those if-only moments.
That's where the third conditional steps in.
Okay.
The third conditionals are all about revisiting the past and exploring those alternative timelines.
Okay.
Like saying, if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam.
Right.
We're looking back at a past action or inaction and imagining a different outcome.
So the if clause uses the past perfect tense.
Right. If I had studied.
To show that the action happened before the hypothetical result.
Exactly.
And then we have that would have plus the past participle in the result clause to express what could have been.
It's all about the sequence of events.
Right.
The past action in the if clause leads to the hypothetical result in the then clause.
Okay.
And it's important to remember that we're talking about something that did not happen.
Right.
But could have if circumstances were different.
So it's not just about regret. It's about exploring those what could have been scenarios.
Precisely.
Like if I had taken that job offer, I would be living in a different country now.
Yeah.
Or if I'd missed that train, I would have met my best friend.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so third conditionals let us reflect on those pivotal moments in our lives and consider how different choices might have led to different outcomes.
It's like being a time traveler.
Right.
Rewinding the past and imagining those alternate realities.
And it's not just for personal reflection either.
Oh, no.
Third conditionals are super powerful for storytelling.
Absolutely.
Think about how often we hear things like, if she hadn't said yes, their life would have been completely different.
Yeah, or if he hadn't made that discovery, the world would never have known.
Exactly.
It adds a whole other level of drama and intrigue.
Yeah, it draws you in.
Keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Okay, so we've got 0, first, second, and third conditionals.
You.
But I hear there's one more type.
Oh, yeah.
Something called a mixed conditional. You're really going deep into conditional territory today.
Okay, right?
But don't worry, mixed conditionals aren't as scary as they sound.
Okay, good.
They just let us blend those hypothetical and real-world scenarios in a really interesting way.
So it's like we're combining different elements of the other conditional types.
You got it.
Okay. Can you give us an example?
Sure, imagine someone saying, if I hadn't missed my flight, I would be relaxing on a beach right now.
Okay.
Notice how the if clause uses the past perfect just like a third conditional,
Okay.
suggesting a different past choice, but the result clause uses would be,
Right.
which is more like a second conditional implying a hypothetical present situation.
So it's like we're looking back at the past and imagining a different present at the same time.
Exactly.
Whoa, that's cool. It's a really powerful way to express how past choices can have a lasting impact on our current reality.
Okay, so mixed conditionals are definitely a bit more advanced.
Yeah.
but they show a really sophisticated understanding of how different tenses and structures can work together.
It's like taking your conditional skills to the next level.
Okay, I like it. So we've covered a lot of ground here with conditionals.
We have.
But I want to circle back to something we talked about at the beginning.
Sure.
Why are they so important for English learners?
Good question.
Why are they even more valuable than just learning a bunch of new vocabulary?
Well, think of it this way. Vocabulary is like having a toolbox full of different tools.
Okay.
But conditionals, they're the blueprint.
Oh, I like that.
That tells you how to use those tools to build something amazing.
Right.
They give you the structure, the logic, the flow that allows you to express complex thoughts and ideas with clarity and precision.
So it's not just about sounding impressive.
Right.
It's about actually thinking in English more effectively.
Yeah, it's about moving beyond that translation stage and really getting into the flow of the language.
Right. Like you're not just putting words together anymore.
Exactly.
You're actually building those connections between thoughts and ideas.
And the cool thing is once you start using conditionals,
Yeah.
you start to see them everywhere, like in
Shaking.
conversations, in movies, in books.
It's like they're the secret code of fluent English.
They really are.
It's like you're in on this little secret.
And the best part is anyone can learn this code.
Right.
It just takes a little practice.
So what's your advice for learners who want to start mastering conditionals?
Well, I'd say start by just paying attention.
Okay.
Listen for those if-then structures in everyday English.
Like when you're watching a show or listening to music
Exactly.
or even just chatting with friends.
And then the most important thing is to start using them yourself.
Right. Don't be afraid to experiment.
Exactly.
Make mistakes.
It's all part of the learning process.
I love that idea of it being a process.
It really is.
Because it takes the pressure off.
It does.
It's not about being perfect. It's about trying things out and seeing what happens.
And you might be surprised at how quickly you start to feel more comfortable with them.
Exactly. All right, so to wrap things up, we've explored all 5 types of conditionals.
0, first, second, third, and even those mixed conditionals.
They might seem a little daunting at first.
But hopefully we've demystified them a bit.
Yeah, I think so too. And the key takeaway here
Is that conditionals are incredibly powerful tools for sounding more fluent and expressing yourself more clearly.
it's like they're the missing piece of the puzzle.
I like that analogy.
They help you connect all those other pieces
Vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation.
and create something truly amazing.
So to all our listeners out there,
I challenge you to start using conditionals more in your everyday English.
don't be shy.
Experiment. Have fun with it.
And you'll be amazed at the difference it makes.
Until next time, keep chatting, keep learning.
And keep those conditionals flowing.
See you soon.
Bye, everyone.